I think you could be a 7-figure performer and be a minimum wage dad.
Let's go.
And the thing about your family is they're not made of glass. If you drop them, they shatter. And at the same time, you could be a great husband and a great dad, but you suck at business. You aren't brave, you aren't confident, you aren't going for it, you aren't utilizing the skills and the talents, the abilities, the vision that God's given you. And so you're not playing the full deck of cards that you've been handed. And that's a shame too. That's bad stewardship. I feel it, therefore it must be true. That's a huge error right now in America, right? Emotional reasoning. I feel like a cat, therefore I'm a cat, right? So, yeah, man, I think for me, I just believe in full contact Christianity, so I don't really delineate between like what I do for work and what I do on the regular. And I don't really cater my speech. I try to just be tactful, right? And read the room, to the best of my ability. And
what's popping into my mind is like, you've heard the term toxic masculinity.
First off, let's just define that. Obviously you and I agree, a man is an adult human male with XY chromosomes, right? But beyond that, I believe the first step into manhood is the glad acceptance of sacrificial responsibility.
That's really good.
A boy wants to play. He wants to have a good time. He wants to avoid responsibility. He doesn't want to do the things he's supposed to do. He has to be told to do them, right? When you start moving into masculine territory, you start to assume responsibility and initiate without being forced to. Well, I think what I see a lot, men who are very assertive in the workplace, but passive in the marriage.
Okay.
Assertive with their buddies, but passive with their kids, right?
What's up, guys? Ryan here with the Growth-Minded Contractor Podcast, and I have a guest that's not a contractor, but he's a growth-minded guy. His name's Johnny Rios. Welcome to the show, Johnny.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Glad you're here, man.
Yeah, man.
Here in your hood in West Palm Beach. And we go back, I don't know, years ago. We were both part of a church here. And you were like, I remember just everyone would talk about Rios up in West Palm. It's like you're leading, you're helping, you're discipling, you're coaching. And we didn't really connect a ton. We connected more later after I moved, but just started following your journey. And then actually our friend, Reader, put together like a group of like warriors, and we started chatting. And I was like, man, I never really got to hear you up close. But when I did, I was just so impressed and inspired and just felt so much life in what you say. And then I started following your Instagram before you had like really any momentum. You were just you. Mm-hmm. And then you started really building and stay faithful. And man, you're one of my favorite follows on Instagram because you bring truth. You don't compromise, and you do it from love, but you don't like. So for those of you guys who don't know Johnny, his Instagram is Primal Virtues, so you can find him. I'm sure you have other ways of people to follow you, but that's your primary way, right?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And so Primal Virtues, and so you're a full-time licensed psychotherapist, and then you've now extended into like a masculine, like men's group called Primal Virtues, and you do spiritual formation, coaching on being a father and a husband, just things of that nature, right?
All kinds of stuff, man.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that. Like, what do you do? What's your day-to-day? And what's some of the work you're putting together for the men in this world? Hey, what's up, guys? I hope you are loving this episode. Hey, if you're a contractor looking to scale and grow your business through sales leadership training and sales coaching and training for your team, then look no further. All you got to do is text us at 945-800-4220. 945-800-4220, okay? Or just go to our website, sellonstg.com. Again, if you're a contractor and you want to grow your sales leadership training skills, your sales coaching skills, and you want to grow and help your sales reps get better, we can help commercial companies. We help residential companies. No matter what trade you're in, you just want to transform your business, okay? Come to STG. We hope to see you there. Hey, now back to the episode.
So I have a private practice, so that's kind of my 9-to-5 gig, 80% of my clients are male. Okay. And I'd say the top 3 type of clients I work with are aspiring businessmen or athletes who want to go play D1 or are currently playing at a high level, want to land another professional contract. And
sweet.
So a lot of them are dealing with performance anxiety stuff. So I deal with anxiety disorders. And then outside of that, it's a lot of marital stuff, like couples and I get a lot of families that come to me to help with their teenage boys who are going off the deep end, So
Like, so when it's like a private practice, right? So they just like hear about you, this kind of work you do, and they're just like, I'm going to hit up Johnny and Rios and do this work.
pretty much, man, word of mouth. I mean, Jupiter's a small town in Palm Beach County, word gets out. So there's not a whole lot of men in this space. I mean, most therapists are female.
That's true.
So
That's true.
there's limited options, which helps me.
Totally. Performance anxiety. Let's talk about that. I think that's something I didn't really know you covered as much. So we're catching up while we're doing this podcast. So don't mind us. No, but talk about that. What do you see people struggling with, and how do you start to unpack that and help them work through that?
Right. Well, I mean, you play baseball, so you know the pressure of performing at a tryout or trying to land a new contract, or you go from playing high school ball to college ball, and the speed level, the mindset, the physicality, it's a whole nother level. So, I work with a lot of baseball players who are in a slump. They've got the yips, or businessmen who have to give presentations and they stutter. They don't know how to prepare. They don't have a system to follow. And then they don't really have anybody to talk to about that. So they just kind of either fail out or underperform, right? And don't make the sale or don't land the contract or quit. They just quit altogether. So I provide a space for that, and my background is in athletics. I played D1 and then I played in the minors here and then played in Europe for a couple of years. After
Baseball?
that, soccer.
Yeah. That's cool.
So I understand the pressure and,
Yeah.
I flew to Ireland by myself, didn't know anybody. So just being the new guy, and there's a lot of fear in there, for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
it's stuff anybody can relate to, especially if you're trying to grow and step out of your comfort zone and get better. If you're trying to go for your goals, you're going to hit fear. You're going to hit anxiety. So that's really a lot of what we work on.
Fear and anxiety, man. Dude, those guys have been coming after me for a long time.
Yeah.
I feel that, bro.
Yeah.
So so you got guys like playing for the Cardinals and the Marlins, probably, like they're hanging out there.
I've had some of that.
Some high school
around here.
guys.
It's a lot of golfers and collegiate athletes, soccer players, lacrosse players, things like that.
Wow. So let's talk about that fear and anxiety piece, man. Like what are you seeing when you trace down to that and they're like, yeah, I have a lot of fear and anxiety. How do you help them work through that? And how do they get, it's like, I don't know if healed's the right word, but maybe what actually happens? Like, what do you call it? It's probably not even healed. It's something else. Like, I'm sure it's like overcoming, or I don't know what it is, but how do you go about it?
Yeah, I think first off, it's human, right? To have anxiety or to face fear is a human experience anybody can relate to. But usually people don't seek help until it's gone level 8, 9, or 10.
Okay.
Now it's really impacting the workplace or whatever,
Yeah.
So I would say the first place to start is realizing that the world's not going to become safer. You're just going to get stronger, right? So it's really about developing mental strength and having like skills to handle the intrusive thoughts or the physiological symptoms. So think of the last time you were really anxious or afraid of something. I mean, you had heart palpitations. You might have been restless. Your legs were restless. Your mind was racing. You might have been sweating through your shirt. So there's real physiological dynamics going on. So helping performers handle that stuff and then giving them some mental strategies for those intrusive thoughts that are really, really sabotaging or blocking performance.
Wow.
So, I mean, a classic example might be, surprisingly, I get a lot of people that are having panic attacks, which I would say are 8, 9, and 10 levels of anxiety and fear. And when you have a panic attack, you'll often feel like you're having a heart attack. I mean, a lot of people end up in the ER with panic attacks. The doctor goes, "You're not dying, you're having anxiety." And they're like, "No, doc, this is bigger than anxiety. Like I'm in pain." He's like, "No, you need to go talk to somebody." Right.
Wow.
So that's somebody who's stepping out of the comfort zone and is in unfamiliar territory and doesn't realize what's going on in the mind and the body, and these are really treatable. These are treatable disorders.
So how do you go about helping someone, go about, like, there's intrusive thoughts, they don't have the skill or the mental strength. How do you go about helping them strengthen that mentality and that and acquire skills and the things to become stronger in a world where they feel overwhelmed and the things like that's creating the anxiety?
Right. So like in your context, I would assume you've got a lot of sales athletes who are trying to make moves, trying to land contracts, really trying to provide for their families, trying to, pay their employees. And that's a lot of pressure, right? So I would say confidence and preparation suffocate anxiety.
Love that.
Right. So giving people a method of preparation and building their confidence levels. Confidence is like a muscle. You either have small biceps or big biceps. Confidence isn't something you're just born with. It's something you cultivate. Right. So confidence comes from the Latin root confidere, which means with full trust. So someone who's performing in a confident manner is trusting their stuff. They're trusting their speaking ability. They're trusting their skill set because they've trained it under pressure. They've trained it in harsh environments, right? They've learned how to navigate those waters, and they're also in touch with what's going on in the mind, right? So if you don't take charge of the control tower, it'll take charge of you, whether that's in an athletic environment or a sales environment or a speaking gig or whatever. So I teach breath training. I teach how to manage the physical symptoms. Let me give you something practical that I work with or help a lot of people with. You've heard of, like in OCD terms, you've heard of people talk about unwanted intrusive thoughts. I'm assuming you've heard of that before. So they're unwanted thoughts you're having. I don't want to be thinking this. I certainly don't want to be feeling this, right? So we call those ants, automatic negative thoughts.
Got it.
Right? You didn't ask for them, but they're hitting you, man. They're hitting you big, and it's really hindering you. So a simple automatic thought might be somebody didn't text you back within the last 2 hours, and the thought you might have is this person is irresponsible, or this person it's obvious this person doesn't like me, or this person's not professional. Right? We label that immediately, right? And we assume we know what this person is thinking, okay? And that'll jack you up if you make assumptions and you try to mind read people, because I have no idea what's going on in your life. No idea, right? So it's, first off, being aware of the thoughts that are coming into my mind, labeling those. Okay, I'm mind reading right now. Right? Another one is fortune telling. That's an automatic negative thought where I might go, I'm going to go make this sales pitch, but I'm pretty sure I know how it's going to turn out.
Yeah.
The last one didn't go well. I can foresee it going badly.
Yeah.
Right. And that's going to affect my performance.
Yeah.
So I'm moving into the future, and that stunts my performance. So I got to label it. I got to be aware of it. I got to label it. And then I actually have to combat it. I have to have a rational response to that. So I get people to write their automatic thought down.
Yeah.
And then you might ask the question, this is what Socrates did, by the way, with his students. What evidence do you have that this thought is true? Because you feel it. Well, that's an automatic negative thought. Emotional reasoning. I feel it, therefore it must be true. That's a huge error right now in America, right? Emotional reasoning. I feel like a cat, therefore I'm a cat, right? So the rational response might be, okay, this person is irresponsible and this person doesn't like me. Okay, I'm labeling. That's what that is. I'm mind reading. Okay, what's the rational response? Well, first off, I have no evidence to show me this person doesn't like me. And I have no idea what's going on with their life, right? So I need to figure out. I need to circle back with this person and try to find some evidence for this belief. But right now, I can't make a judgment call on this. So just even those little moments where you stop and you contend with your own thoughts are a daily strategy to help you combat your unwanted intrusive thoughts that you most people don't realize their thoughts control them. Your thoughts produce moods, your moods produce behavior, your behavior produces outcomes, right? So, there's the mental component and then there's the physiological component when it comes to helping people navigate, their anxieties and stressors.
I'm being reminded of that scripture. It says, like, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And I know that in our church there was a bit of like a wave of teaching around that and identity and mind renewal. And I feel like you're taking, like, what you're talking about is a lot of that. It's like in a very practical, tangible way is like, being aware of those thoughts. Is that even, like, where is that even coming from?
Where's the evidence?
Yeah.
Oh, just because I feel it? I mean, that's not evidence, right? So it takes work.
I'm like thinking about, when you were saying that too, I was like imagining somebody who gets so stuck in these automatic negative thoughts. These ants are all over them, and they're just like immobile. I feel like they're almost like immobile, or the actions they take are like fight or flight. They're just like they're not free when they take those actions. They're not confident. And they're just like doing anything. And then I was just imagining a contrast of a really high performer who is not immune to those ants. Right. They handle them a different way. Like somebody who overcomes incredible amounts of adversity, who negotiate incredible challenging deals, or, wins really big elections, or like, I'm just, even like Trump, I was just imagining that guy is not letting things that other people say affect what he's believing. And I'm just imagining like really big achieving people who are changing the world around them and transforming whatever they're doing. And I'm just like, man, that's the variable. It's like what's going on in between the ears. And so I was just thinking about that. Not that I have another follow-up comment or a question. I just feel like there's moments where I feel like I've been stuck, right, and believe things that aren't necessarily true. When you're in overwhelming circumstances and you're like, man, and then you just say something and it's like, well, where is that even true? Is that, who? And so curious, like how you tend to integrate faith into this, or spirituality, because there's a lot of promises in the word. There's a lot of things that, I'm just kind of curious about that. Like, how do you incorporate, because a lot of this could be self-help labeled, right, but I know you're a believer. I know you love the Lord, and you this is a part of who you're called to be and expand God's kingdom. And I know that's who you are. So like, how does that all fit together with what you're doing? Yeah,
man, I think for me, I just believe in full contact Christianity. So I don't really delineate between like what I do for work and what I do on the regular. And I don't really cater my speech. I try to just be tactful, right, and read the room, to the best of my ability. And, but, I didn't become a Christian at a church. I was at at VMI, which is a military service academy, and there were no Christians there. And I had an encounter with God. And so I just started reading the Bible right there. There were no Christians. I didn't have a spiritual father or anything. And so just becoming a Christian in that environment, and then going to churches and going into Christian environments, that was weird for me. Church was weird, and the culture and the language was weird. So I think I'm actually just more comfortable in the harsh environments, man. I cut my teeth working in addiction treatment centers. Yeah. So that really informed how I operated, it informed my language and how I communicate with people on their level, but also being a full contact Christian. So I'm a man of the Proverbs, man. I read the Proverbs almost daily, and I think that really informs my speech. It informs like how I think. Love that. About things, and so yeah, man, I think when it comes to like my practice, if I get a read on somebody being vulnerable and open, then I'm going to go there, Yeah. We're a body, we're a soul, and we're a spirit, so I think a lot of people are operating on 1 or 2 levels, but not on 3. So, you got a lot of solid Christians who have quality theology, but they're overweight, out of shape. They don't eat right. They don't have physical disciplines. Yeah. Or they're only Bible. They don't study anything else. They don't feed their mind any other kind of wisdom, right? So I think all 3 are important. And I think that's probably my approach.
Love that. I love the blend of what you present is, I appreciate it. Just being out in the marketplace, being a family guy,
Yeah.
being an athlete. You do a really good job. So thank you for that. Let's talk about family and fathering and what you're seeing in the world today. We happen to be the contracting space as my audience, and so it's pretty. There's a lot of masculinity there, which is cool. I'm not in a world where there's not. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of alpha males out there that are running companies, driving big trucks, and all that stuff. Have a lot to prove and want to show the world how awesome they are. So I think that you do a good job promoting masculinity in a really healthy way, and then also like being a husband and a father. So I'm just kind of I'm interested in what you'd have to say to somebody who is either a really high performing, ambitious sales rep or an owner of a company, and they're starting to like get into this phase of life where, man, they're married, and they have children, and there's just a lot of pressure that some of them are already built for, some of them aren't built for. Maybe let's talk to the ones that are like stepping into that and they haven't carried that weight or built up what they need to build up to carry that over time. Like the guy that was just, you can't, he's doing some pretty big, he's got some big shoulders. He's been doing it for a while, right? And he's producing 30 something million a year as a sales guy. I don't know. I just want to maybe ask you to speak into that, like, to the common audience member who's, in something like I described. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, man. So I think you could be a 7-figure performer and be a minimum wage dad.
Let's go.
I think you could be a 7-figure performer and be a minimum wage husband. And the thing about your family is they're not made of glass. If you drop them, they shatter.
Wow.
So what good is it if you build this kingdom, this business, this dream, but everybody you love doesn't get you, right? So I do believe there's a tension there. It's doable. It just takes wisdom, you know? So, and at the same time, you could be a great husband and a great dad, but you suck at business, right? You aren't brave. You aren't confident. You aren't going for it. You aren't utilizing the skills and the talents, the abilities, the vision that God's given you. And so you're not playing the full deck of cards that you've been handed. And that's a shame too. That's bad stewardship.
Yeah.
So I've got to steward my kids, my wife, and the skills and the abilities God's given me, which feeds into the workplace. You know what I mean? But the thing is, you should be encouraged. Like, it's doable. There's just a lot of bad examples out there on YouTube. They're strong in one area, but they're the minimum wage guy in the other area. And the goal is that we grow into maturity in all those different categories. And I think a key is masculine mentorship, right? Think of like a trail that's been blazed before you, and somebody else can help you walk that trail. You don't have to blaze it yourself. Now, obviously, as a pioneer in the business space, there are elements of that, but some people might call that a spiritual father. I mean, my dad's been my mentor, my entire life. I just got off the phone with him, but I've had so many freaking mentors, man, like military commanders, athletic coaches, pastors, therapists. I still have mentors in my life, and I think a lot of guys operate in that Lone Ranger mentality. I'm capable, I'm competent, I'm tough. And the thing about Lone Rangers is they only make it in the movies. That they don't work out in real life. And what I see with a lot of guys, especially in the business space, they are Lone Rangers, and they have what I call rust friends. So rust friends are guys you were buddies with in college, or you were in the service with these guys. They're your bros, man. Those guys would take a bat to the face for you. But it's been years, and they might live in another state, and they're still your brother, but they don't know what's going on with you on a day-to-day basis. You've got zero accountability. You don't have anybody inspiring you in your life. You don't have anybody sharpening you, challenging you, and holding you to a freaking standard, right? And a loving standard. Like, bro, you're playing beneath your level right now. I love you. I'm calling you up, right? So I think that's the secret sauce,
Love that.
But we have to be intentional about seeking that out.
That's really, really good. I would love to hang out there longer, but I'm just kind of getting in my head. What's popping into my mind is like, you've heard the term toxic masculinity. Like that's a phrase we hear a lot of by certain parts of the governmental spectrum. But and I think that you are a masculinity guy, expert, and I think that you're doing a great job of putting it into a package that people can digest in a very holistic way. But I want to ask you about, like, where is it going? Where does it get redlined on masculinity? When does it get ugly and toxic? When does it go to a place where it's not serving those that are following them? Yeah. When do you think it gets to a point where maybe it is what you said on YouTube, where they're one dimensional and they're rich here, minimum wage here, but talk to me about, like, what's real out there, what's not, what's manufactured and amplified, but it's not actually real, that people are trying to portray, that I think that, we see a lot of, especially like guys like us who, we're trying to follow people who are crushing on all levels, and we want to be inspired. But then there's, like, you see these personalities popping up. I don't want to have names drop, but I want to hear what your thoughts are about when does it go to a point where it's like, hey, who should you be caution us against? When you start to see this, stay clear and look elsewhere, because we are looking for leaders. We are looking for people we can follow. We're looking for examples. And I think there's a lot of people out there saying, you should follow me, I'm awesome, right? Oh, yeah. And there's a lot of that. And I just want to know what your thoughts are on that whole part of our world right now.
Yeah, man. So here's the disclaimer. I think God likes variety. So I think there's a lot of personalities and temperaments that God actually enjoys that you might not enjoy.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's good perspective.
I think we do have to have temperance and a little bit of wisdom and, not judging how this guy operates. Right. But I think there's some key characteristics that healthy masculinity should have. Right. First off, let's just define that, obviously you and I agree. A man is an adult human male with XY chromosomes, right? But beyond that, I believe the first step into manhood is the glad acceptance of sacrificial responsibility.
That's really good,
right? So that's Douglas Wilson. He said that. But beyond that, it's the eradication of childhood narcissism. So think of a boy. We've been boys, right? A boy wants to play. He wants to have a good time. He wants to avoid responsibility. He doesn't want to do the things he's supposed to do. He has to be told to do them, right? When you start moving into masculine territory, you start to assume responsibility and initiate without being forced to. And you start to let go. The Bible says, when I became a man, I put my childish ways behind me.
Yeah. So
we eradicate the boy and step into true masculinity. It's the assumption of responsibility. It's forging forward in those dreams and aspirations and goals. It's moving in courage, right? But ultimately, all that leads into service, right? God didn't give you talents and gifts just to serve you. They're actually for everybody else. Your gifts are for everybody else, right? You reap fruit from it, but they're actually for everybody else, whether that's speaking or finances or athletic ability, whatever it is, right? So I think where a lot of the toxic stuff we see comes from is you've got men that still think like boys. They think it's all about them.
Wow.
They think it's all about how they're perceived. They think it's about filling their pockets, when in reality it's about what is the greatest service you could provide and laying your life down on behalf of the people that you love, right? So if service is the key component, it might help for listeners to think about a good king and a tyrannical king. Like, think of the days of King Arthur. So King Arthur, he understood it's his responsibility to provide for his kingdom, whether it's the royals or the paupers. It's his job to provide for them and also to cause his kingdom to flourish. It's his job to protect them from outside, from external invaders and internal invaders, right? It's his job to lead them with command presence and wisdom and kindness. And it's his job to lay the hammer down when people are out of line.
Yeah.
Right? So there's this balance between lion and lamb. And I think we see a lot of guys who've got lamb qualities And that's the yes guy, the soft guy, the nice guy. And then we see a lot of guys who are hardcore, hustle, grind, got my shirt off all the time, alpha mentality.
Yeah.
We need a balance of wisdom, lion and lamb, warrior poet, right? And I think that's where we move into healthy masculinity. Without healthy masculinity, society crumbles, right? Dictators are toxic masculine men. Heroes are the men that defeat the dictators, right? They're the guys with the gumption and the skill and the ability to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's what we strive for. And I think
what are some good models for you that you really love? Like, who are some, maybe they passed, what are some good models and illustrations that you are inspired by to be lion and lamb, warrior and poet? I think about, just those are that's really cool language here. What are some good illustrations for you and examples that inspired you?
Yeah. Well, my examples are probably a little bit outside the norm. Probably one of my favorite historical mentors is General George Patton. He actually attended where I did, and he's a war hero from World War II. But he was known for command presence, and his men followed him anywhere. Right, but he was often on the front lines taking bullets with his men. He would sleep on the front lines with them.
Wow.
Right, so I derive a lot of my leadership approach from guys like that that he said, always be willing to do what you ask of your men.
Wow.
Right, always be willing to do what you ask of your employees. Right, doesn't mean you can't delegate, but be willing to do it and demonstrate it. Right, so he's a big mentor of mine. I've read his biographies and follow all of his stuff, and he was also freaking foul-mouthed military guy, and he had some wild speeches. You should look him up. All of you should look him up later. But beyond that, it's my dad. He's another big mentor. My dad left Puerto Rico and started fresh here on the East Coast, and that's where I was born. I was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico. But my dad demonstrated the lion and the lamb well. He was a protector. My dad, we grew up poor. My dad, I remember an instance where my dad didn't eat breakfast and gave me his breakfast. And then he just went to work, didn't complain, nothing, Wow. I remember my dad would go to work when he had a fever. He wouldn't whine. He didn't complain. And I saw my dad, I've got 3 sisters. I saw how he treated my sisters with kindness. He stewarded them well. My mother, right? They went through stuff, but I saw the tenderness and the leadership there. So I had a good template. Right.
That's awesome.
My dad didn't leave my family. My dad's still the patriarch. Wow. Right. So as provider, protector, I'll tell you this story. I remember one day pulling into my driveway, into my neighborhood, and at the entrance of my neighborhood, I guess I have locked eyes with another driver, and I'd like pissed him off. The 2 guys followed me and my buddy to my house, got out of their car. It got in my face. It was trying to like fight me in my driveway. So I was about to throw down with these kids. And back then I had no fighting skills, none of that. And my dad, I just hear this voice from the second story window with the window up. He says, "Is there a problem, gentlemen?" And he had a bat in his hand. And I'm look up and my dad's looking at these 2 jokers, and they just pulled a U-ey, got back in their car and drove off. So I always had a protector.
Wow, that's cool.
Even though I didn't even know he was behind me. And I think that's what we're supposed to be as men. Not predators, protectors.
So good, bro. I'm like getting in like a trance state listening to you talk. Sorry.
That's cool, man.
It's powerful stuff, man. I love it. It's so good. Probably should land this.
This isn't a Rogan deal where it's like 3 hours?
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Okay.
45 to 60 tops. And this is my 3rd hour straight, and I needed to eat.
I get it.
Yeah, bro. So you're father of 4 daughters?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Girl dad, man. That's awesome. And you've been married for 16 years, 16. You said?
Yeah.
So give us like some tips on being a father and a husband. I think that I remember earlier in my marriage, my wife's discontentment about circumstances, it used to rattle me. Like I used to like want to, like her being happy, I knew was on me too, almost. So yes, it's on me and some of it's on her, but like I think I see some guys completely disconnect, say it's not my responsibility.
Yeah.
And then there's also like I went to the point where it was like 100% me, 0% her. It's all on me. And then I but I matured and found things that really like made her feel loved. And it's been cool. We've been married this year will be 14 years. And what are some things that you've learned and that how marriage and fathering has matured you, specifically maybe like marriage, with every woman's different, every man's different, but like, what are some kind of, maybe to wrap us up, some 2 or 3 major overcomes that men step into that wives, as they assume responsibility, as they protect, as they provide, as they are good kings in their household? What are some like kind of major overcomes that a lot of guys kind of struggle with, but then as they mature and stay steadfast, they're able to do well, where otherwise they see divorce, or otherwise they quit, otherwise they run? What do you see occur there on the marital front?
Yeah. Well, I think what I see a lot, men who are very assertive in the workplace, but passive in the marriage.
Okay.
Assertive with their buddies, but passive with their kids, right? So they don't help with discipline. They don't discipline the kids. The wife has to do it. They don't initiate hard conversations. They let it ride, right? They don't show her that she's seen and chosen and wanted. They don't articulate that or demonstrate that with physical touch or little gifts or quality time. They just assume it'll just happen. So that's passivity. You shouldn't assume. None of this stuff happens by accident. I always say casual men will be casualties.
Wow.
Right? So a lot of us are just too casual about our marriage. The fact of the matter is, you weren't casual about her when you were dating her.
Right.
And she wasn't casual about him when they were dating. She was all about it too. And we have to stay in that state. It's called being intentional, right? And there's a saying in the 12-step program, familiarity breeds contempt. That simply means when I get too familiar with you, I take you for granted.
Wow.
Right? So a lot of spouses they're taking each other for granted. Oh, he'll always do the work. He'll always show up, and they don't express gratitude.
She'll love me even if I get fat.
She'll love me if I get fat, and she'll love me if I stop stepping up. And that may be true, but I mean, for the most part, it's not. Statistically, it's not true. A lot of marriages, at least 50% of marriages, just aren't making it, primarily because we take each other for granted. We start comparing, right? So I would say practically, give yourself an assessment. How do I rate myself as far as assertive behavior towards my spouse? 0 to 10, like where do I land? Am I assertive with my kids? Am I having difficult conversations with my kids, teaching them, right? Your kids and your wife really primarily want your presence. Not just your occasional encouragements, but I'm in the room with you and I'm fully here with you. I'm not necessarily in my phone. I'm not on the couch just watching SportsCenter. I'm actually engaged with you and I get on your level. So with my girls, I've got 2 kids that are in soccer. I'm out there playing with them. I'm out there teaching. With my other daughter, she's in theater drama. I don't act. I don't do drama, but I go to all her stuff and I rehearse her lines with her. I'm not wasting hours and hours a week on this, but I'm engaged, because I want my kids, when they grow up, I want them to want to come home.
Totally.
Right? And when I'm gone this weekend for a 3-day intensive. When I get back, I want my wife to have missed me. Right? She ain't going to miss you, bro, if you're checked out while you're home.
Dude, the word assertive is just like, be assertive. Men should be assertive. Just
Absolutely.
Be assertive. Just be aggressive is necessary and needed, but like assertive is like the right word, because it's like a steadfast, proactive, I'm thinking of you, and this is me taking action with regards to family, father, my wife, my business, my health. I love that, man. That's awesome. There's some super good nuggets in here, bro. Let's talk about Primal Virtues, Primal, the men's deal. What can people learn about it? How can they find you? How can they engage with some stuff you're up to?
Yeah, so Primal Virtues is my Instagram page, and we've got some videos and some blogs on there. But the main emphasis of Primal is simply this. It's building and rebuilding men, right? Body, soul, and spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So I really try to emphasize those three things. So we're walking men through a formation process. Like, are you in alignment with your purpose?
Mm-hmm.
How's your relationship going? Mm-hmm. Not just with your wife, with other bros. Are you a lone ranger? Because lone rangers don't make it. Do you have inspiration? Do you have accountability? We talk a lot about honor and courage. I think honor is a forgotten attribute that American culture used to thrive on. But a lot of men haven't really been taught how to operate with honor. And a lot of men honestly haven't been taught how to operate in courage. And that's really attractive to women. Courageous men are always attractive to women. Men who walk in strong conviction, that's really attractive even in the business world.
Yeah.
But these are traits that a lot of us just haven't been formed in, you know? So Primal really emphasizes that as far as teaching dynamics, but then also there's a heavy physical component. So I think a lot of guys think they're more formidable than they really are, especially when it comes to protecting. I think a lot of guys need training in self-defense, if for the simple fact that you grow in confidence. And if you're confident and competent, you won't have to fight. People can sense that.
Yeah.
You know? You can regulate, you're self-restrained.
Yeah.
That's going to help you in the long run. And then there's the spiritual component where we're talking about identity, man. Like, who are you really? And where do you derive your identity? And what are the talents, abilities, gifts God's instilled in you? Are you operating in those? And what does that look like? How can we encourage you in that? And a lot of it's like reminding guys of who they are. Hey, bro, you're really skilled in this area. You're not using it. Hey, man, like, how can we help you with that? You know, you said you were going to do this, but you haven't done it yet. Mm-hmm. We do have we have a lot of physical training events. Like this weekend, we have a 3-day jiu-jitsu intensive. But we do a lot of paramilitary style stuff as well to test people's mental toughness and resilience. You know, so all that stuff gets mashed into one deal.
Where do you do them, and how often? How much? You don't need to talk about price, but where are they? How often? Is it like only live events? Do you have courses? What are you up to with that?
Yeah, so the rite of passage is 8 weeks. That's here in Palm Beach County. It's 7 weeks primarily of virtual. The guys who are local meet up during the 7 weeks, but we do have guys flying in from California, from Texas, you name it. But then there's a face-to-face component at the end. We have a 24-hour nonstop crucible training event.
Cool.
So everybody has to come in for that. So that's really special. That's the final test. We've prepared you for 7 weeks. Now show up. Show up and put up, right? So that's the 8-week course. And if you go through that course, then you have access to all of our 2.0 stuff. So the 3-day mountain course in North Carolina. I've got a 5-day Teton Crest Trail deal in Wyoming. I've got a couples thing in Puerto Rico. That's 5 days. Last year, we had the Peru expedition. We did Machu Picchu and Inca Trail for 6 days with couples. And then we all have a year-round mastermind deal called the Round Table, and that's for guys who've gone through that. And so that's fun. But I'm always creating stuff that I think guys would get something out of. I don't create stuff I wouldn't do. I do trainings all year long, and 90% of them I won't go back to. Right? So I'm always thinking, like, would I actually want to do this myself? And then I try to do that. And I don't do cheese. I don't do hype. Like, I'm really not into hype, man. You know, so it's actually hard for me to be on social media. I'm brass tacks. I'm like, man, there's so much smack talk on YouTube, right? There's so much hype on YouTube, but like behind closed doors, does your wife like you? Do you have real friends? Do you have longevity with your friends? Do you have real spiritual health? That's the stuff I really care about, man. So,
love it, bro. Well, man, it's been great to have you. Loves hearing you share. Some super good wisdom in there. Yeah, guys, follow my boy Rios. You'll be super glad you did. So, man, thanks for being here with me.
Thanks, Ryan.